In this video, I'm going to be talking about how I made these sponge holders. So to start off, I would say these sponge holders are one of the easiest things you can wheel throw. Not to make anyone feel bad if you can't, because it does take a lot of practice to still learn how to center and everything like that, but sponge holders are very easy, and I would say if you're a beginner and you want to try making something that's functional, besides like a bowl or a mug, sponge holders is like one of the first items that you can make as a beginner. So, to make a sponge holder, all you do is you throw a cup. So you could decide if you want your sponge holder to be wider or bellied out at all. And I chose to have mine caved in a little bit more, and I was going to add a spiral but decided against it. I have seen some sponge holders where they're kind of like colanders, where they cut the sides of the sponge holders so then the sponge can breathe and the air can circulate through. If you want to do that on yours, you can go right ahead. I chose a simpler design because this is going to be a cheaper item that I sell. So I did my first vendor fair recently, and at that vendor fair I threw up a lot of spoon rests that I sold for around $15 each, and the mugs went from $25 to $45 depending on the glaze and depending on the size of the mug. So when I'm pricing these sponge holders, I'm trying to make them as fast as I can, but as good as I can and as quality as I can. Obviously, I had to scrap a few because when you're wheel throwing, you're bound to mess up. There's some clay that's going to have air bubbles, and there's going to be sometimes you're not going to, come out with a really proud product, product you're proud of and you want to sell. So I had to scrap 2, I think, out of the 8 that I threw, which is pretty good ratio. I would rather all 8 be, productive and perfect, but that wasn't the case. To make these sponge holders, I started with around a half a pound of clay, just because it didn't need that much clay to make these. It's just a simple cylinder, and then I caved in the walls a little bit, and I just touched it up just slightly. These I would price probably around $20, maybe $15, just because they're really simple to throw. I can get them done really fast, and they don't take me very long. Glaze I find is the most expensive. Talking about my vendor fair a little bit, so my prices. So the mug prices, I priced them, like I said, between $25 and $45, and the ones that were larger, I priced $45, but also if the glaze was really nice. So some glaze, my glaze results were really, really good, and I didn't want to let go of that combination, and I didn't want to sell them for very cheap. Letting go a lot of these pieces, it was hard to see these teapots that I've spent so much time on just let go, but it happens. I have to let go of my products, and I want to make money for them, and I use these vendor fair funds as a way of saving up for going to school. So it's going to be great for my paying for tuition, because obviously I would love to sell as many mugs as I can to help pay for more education and to get better. Also, what I'm doing here on the sponge holders is I just cut the sides. I did about the width of my ruler, which is probably about an inch to inch and a half, maybe an inch and a quarter wide. Basically, you want to cut 2 holes, or 2, as you see here, like spaces where the sponge will lay in between the piece and hold the sponge pretty firmly. The only thing I think I would change about this is I would add a drain hole for the water on the bottom of the cup to drain out of, because this will be sitting next to your sink and the sponge will be on it, and the water might pool up, but it's not going to be too much an issue because it's going to be washed constantly. I am really happy with the way these came out. I love the spiral in the bottom of them, and the how useful these are going to be in the future. Because I threw these so well, all I'm doing is, after I cut the sections out of the pieces, I'm also trimming them on the banding wheel. I threw them very well, and so they're very thin, and so when I looked at the walls, they didn't really need to be put back onto the wheel to trimmed really thin. So it kind of skips a step, but it also saves me a lot of time. So I just took my trimming tools and rubbed the bottom with a sponge, and then got off all the extra clay that I really needed. These things are very light and very lightweight, so they're thin, so it's not going to cost me a lot of clay, and it's not going to cost me that time to also trim. I added a spiral on the bottom of it, a sponge holder as well, and signed it, and then they were done. I really enjoyed making these. There was a super bunch of fun, and I think it's a pretty cool idea and a project that I can keep creating and sell for pretty cheap. So I hope this video inspired you in some way, helped you throw your own sponge holders. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks so much for watching.